You're watching Past the Wire TV.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Past the Wire TV. I am Jim Gazzale. Back with me, brother Kevin. It feels like it's been a couple weeks.
It has been. It's been pre-Derby, before the Derby. But we're refreshed, reinvigorated, ready to give out some winning tickets, hopefully.
It is opening weekend at the Spa, track near and dear to our hearts. And just a quick programming note, if you haven't checked it out yet, the Saturday stakes races, John, myself, and Gio covered those in a prior episode that was out earlier this week. So if you haven't caught that and you're looking for some Saturday content, please be sure to listen and watch that on the Past the Wire TV YouTube channel. Kevin and I are going to go through a pick 3 on the Sunday card, ending in race 9, which is the Quick Call Stakes. And in the race prior to that, we see a little bit of a vulnerable favorite. So let's dive in, Kev. We don't have the PPs to show, so everyone's just going to have to kind of listen intently and follow along with what we're saying. But to kick it off, in race 7, there was 3 in here that we liked.
Yeah, marathon turf race. Personally, I always find these kind of difficult to handicap. The main goal is just finding someone who's going to like the distance and someone who's going to be fast enough running late. The issue is you have a lot of these horses that post big, decent speed figures, but if you look at their final standings, they're finishing 8th, 9th, but they're running decent figures. Can you trust those numbers? Ultimately, we settled on 3. One of my favorite horses in here is one that's stretching out, and we're just going to hope he can get the distance.
Tell us who that is.
Oh, so that's the 3 Battle of Normandy was my top pick in here. Ran a really nice race at Aqueduct a few weeks ago in June. Kind of won this, mile and an eighth in widening lengths, which kind of showed me that he's going to relish some extra ground. And he's going to be more forwardly placed. This race is filled with a lot of horses that are going to try and come from off of it. So I think he's going to be a little bit more forward and, is going to have first run at the leaders.
Yeah, he should be in that sort of first flight of horses as they hit the top of the stretch. And, he's got a decent enough late kick where he should be running perhaps best of all when it matters most. What I liked about this horse too is that he ran a career best Brisnet speed figure back at Saratoga last summer in August in that Saratoga Derby Invitational. Popped a 96 on the Brisnets. Finished 4th behind Program Trading, Farbridge, Web Slinger, 4 lengths back or so. Those are all grade 1 level horses. That was a grade 1, obviously, that Saratoga Derby Invitational. Program Trading won that. He's come back and won a couple of other graded stakes races. Web Slinger, still stings when we look back at Derby Day last year, and he beat us in that turf race there at Churchill Downs. And Farbridge is, quality turf horse that's still knocking around. So in good company, and I think this horse figures to be probably one of the more heavily bet horses in here for sure, and certainly a top contender. Keeping that sort of company, that grade one company, Krebs and Beer hasn't been running against grade one caliber horses, but he does appear to be a bit of a class play in this race. When you look at the Brisnet charts and the Brisnet speed figures and the class ratings, he's one of the classiest horses in this field. And at the, what is it, 10-1, 8-1 on the
Eight
morning
to
line,
one,
I
yeah.
think that's a pretty generous price for, as we all know, class tends to show itself best on turf. And Kev, I know we've talked about this plenty, that the class ratings, current class and average class last three on the Brisnet sheets, tends to be a pretty good indicator of performance on the grass. And Crabs and Beer is tied with Battle of Normandy for current class and is tops in the field for the average class last three. So I think a class play, Crabs and Beer at a bit of a nice price is definitely worthy of inclusion here. And then the last one that we're including in this race is the one, Cyber Ninja. Feels like this horse is kind of getting back to the conditions that it likes best. Came off the turf last time at Churchill, still won, but getting back to that preferred surface on the grass, and I think that's going to set up really nicely for this one. Another one with strong late pace figures on Brisnet, and figures to be just in behind that first wall of horses that we figure Battle of Normandy might be in, and strong enough late pace figures to hopefully find a seam and be running down the lane.
Yeah, he's shown that he likes the turf. He's 3 for 4 hitting the board at this distance. Has won at it before. I mean, he's an Arrogate, so he's going to kind of relish this distance, and hopefully, he just works out a trip from the rail. And if some of those horses up front start to tire or weaken, he should be running there late. Um, Mainly, this was just a play too against Truly Quality, the two. He won at this distance at Aqueduct 2 months ago, but that race, I was trying to remember the name of the horse. He just won on 4th of July, but that horse who won at 4th of July at this distance stumbled, almost fell, which caused Truly Quality to kind of storm to the front and kind of win this race by 6 lengths. That's why I think kind of inflated that speed figure a little bit. And that opened up to me as just a horse to play against.
In the 8th race, trying to beat another favorite, I feel like we're taking a pretty good stand against this Prove Worthy, the 3 here for St. Elias, Rapoli, and Norm Cassie. It just seems like, on paper at least, this horse is kind of going in a little bit of the wrong direction. He was previously trained by Pletcher, and Norm Cassie's had him for 3 starts now. Declining speed figures against lesser and lesser company. He's dropping again in class here, so that is a decent angle that probably works in his favor. But I just haven't really been impressed with his last 2 races, especially. Just seems like he just had nothing left in the tank when he needed it most. So if people are going to bet this horse pretty heavily off of a nice class drop, then we're not going to include him. And I think we've got a couple of better options, in our opinion, on the ticket.
Yeah, I mean, especially the more I watch these mile races at Saratoga, the more um, uh, the easier it is for me to toss these kind of deep closers, especially one that really is kind of having declining form. And Rapoli, he's looking for horses that are going to be winning stakes races for him. So the second he kind of gets a chance to kind of get these horses in a spot where they can get claimed to get out of his barn, uh, I think he's going to do it. And I think that's the case with this horse.
Yeah, so the ones that we liked in here, let's start with the one and Ski Country. I think what I like to look for in these claiming races are horses that are relatively lightly raced. 12 races for Ski Country is right in my wheelhouse for that angle. And I think a lot of times too, the trainers have a lot to do with the success at these ranks. Orlando Noda, 22% second after the claim. Granted, only 41 starters in that sort of statistical bucket, but 22% is still pretty good. And like you were mentioning, these deep closers kind of struggling in this mile distance coming out of the chute at Saratoga. I do think that those forwardly placed horses along the inside, assuming they're quick enough to get to that, first sort of half turn and not get pinched, tend to fare pretty well. And the early pace figures for this one, stack up, fairly well against the rest of this field to suggest that this one should be able to be up and on the early pace to prevent getting pinched into that half turn coming out of the Wilson chute.
Yeah, it's the more I keep talking about it, but these races at this mile are just run so slow compared to a one-turn mile at Aqueduct or the old Belmont. And it's not even like a two-turn mile. It's a half and 1.5 turn mile because I mean we saw it on Belmont Day. The mile was ran in like 24:48 fractions, which is just insanely slow. And so that's why having a horse that's going to be in that first flight, and if he can kind of beat them to the spot and get that spot on the rail, then he definitely has a shot.
The other one that was of interest to us was this two. South Street. And I know, a couple years ago, Irad and David Jacobson were like red hot together. And then last summer, I'm pretty sure it was last summer, I don't know that they won more than one race together at Saratoga. But, we're going to dip our toe in that water at a nice price. First off the claim, but this horse has been in Jacobson's barn previously, just, one start with Wayne Potts. So, this one figures to be in the mix and not necessarily in that first flight of horses, but I think, in a good position along the backstretch and has decent late pace figures to make up a bit of ground in the stretch.
Yeah, and to me, he finally got somewhat of a break. I mean, if you look at it, he ran March, April, May, June, and then now he's been off. He's got three pretty decent regular works. He's back in this Jacobson barn. Though, let me pull it up. A funny thing about horse racing is about 2 hours or so ago, I texted you. Irad has no idea how to ride these mile races at Saratoga. That was at 5:26 p.m. So about 4 or 5 hours ago. And then I texted you immediately that I this was my top pick in here. But we'll see.
What else did we like in here? The 5, I think, is a very, very legitimate player in here, another decent class drop. And one of the other things too, in addition to the horses being lightly raced, the claiming rank ability of the trainer is also just how consistent the horses are at this sort of class level. We want to see horses that have relatively consistent running lines, relatively consistent pace figures, speed figures. The worst thing is when you get in these claiming races and the numbers are just kind of like ping ponging all over the sheet from one race to the next, and it's really hard to get a good understanding of what that horse is going to deliver on the day. And what stuck out to me with this 5 was just how consistent this horse has been at relatively a little bit higher class levels, and I think his speed figures fit in here to be a decent contender, coming off of a little bit of a layoff.
Yeah, I like that Franco sticks here. He's been riding well, and while Brisnet has him listed as an S type, like a deeper closer. If you look, I mean, in some of his most recent races, he's been fourth at second call, third, so he is right on it. So it's not like
Yeah.
he's going to be trying to come from too far back. So I do think he's a top contender in here, just but like you were saying, based on the consistency and the speed figures alone.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at the running line, 2 back, a length and a half off the whole time before winning by a half a length, 3 back, length and a half off, drifted back a little bit, but then was able to close from 2.5 lengths off at the top of the stretch and just missed by a nose. Even in his last race, he was never more than 3 lengths back early on. So in this type of race where I think your early positioning is key, like you said, Kevin, we both agreed that we think that this horse is going to be up close to that early pace. And, in a large field, I have to go back and look, but you've got 11 horses coming out of that chute. Perhaps a few might scratch out of here, given that I don't know that we've seen more than 7 horses run out of there in a single race since they've been using this chute. And just kind of knowing at how much of a disadvantage you are coming from the outside, perhaps this field gets a little bit lighter when we come to Sunday afternoon. Just looking at the post bias. Yeah, so in 68 races run at this distance last year, posts, the rail post won 21% of the time, and then 2 through 7 won another 32% of the time. So more than half of the winners came from those posts. But again, I don't think we've seen many races beyond 6 or 7 horses. Looking at it here at the post bias numbers, 8 plus, so 8 and wider, just a 2% win rate in these mile races last year. Though I don't know how many of those actually had that many horses in it. All right, who else was on our sheet? We had the 6 Kentucky Joker, and I think what I liked about this horse was it's just kind of rounding into a decent bit of form. Ran at this class level down at Aqueduct. What has it been? Maybe 3 weeks ago, and ran one of his best speed figures in the last couple of months. So I'm kind of expecting that to happen again. Two back, a 75 speed figure, most recently 80 speed figure on Brisnet. Late pace is a 91. So, again, looked like he was a little bit further back in that last start, but two back, up and closer to the pace, and hopefully doesn't get swung out too wide on that first half turn. But I think this one should be in a decent enough position to be in good shape when we need him to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not. I think he's just got a chance to kind of be hanging around right as they kind of turn for home, and in a race like this with such a huge field, and you're tossing the favorite, you kind of gotta start to dig a little bit deep here to make sure you find the winner. And I just like his late pace figures, especially since he is stretching out a little bit. Um, I just think he's a consistent enough horse and still relatively lightly raced compared to some others in here. And, I think he has a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, same sort of handicap on this 8. Thank you, John, that we're going to include as well. Nice pace figure at this class level last time at Aqueduct in 82. And it just seems like at these 7 furlong races that he's run, 3, 4, and 5, well, really 3 and 4 races back. Decent pace figure suggesting that he wants to go a little bit longer. And then his most recent race, an 81 late pace figure on Brisnet, going this mile distance. So, like we've been talking about, a little bit further to the outside. So we'll see maybe a little bit of a roll of the dice. But like you said, at 12-1, and we're trying to get past this favorite here, I think worth including this one, just so we think he has a chance, and we don't want to get beat and leave him off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, if you look back in March, like it's kind of apples and oranges a little bit, but similar level, 7 furlong race, just because he's under Linda Rice, he went off favored in a same class, similar race length. I just think being in a low percentage trainer, I mean, those horses kind of bounce around no matter who's training him, except Linda Rice. He had one kind of toss race with her. So I don't think switching from a 4% trainer to a 6% trainer is really going to affect him here.
All right, so that is 1, 2, 5, 6, and 8 in this middle leg of the pick 3, races 7, 8, and 9 on Sunday's card at Saratoga. Race 9, we've been waiting for this horse to run. Seems like she's been entered every day and just keeps getting pushed further and further back. And we're looking forward to seeing Star of Mystery on Sunday.
Yeah, so I mean, I loved her in the Jaipur, and then I loved her. I thought she was going to run today in the Coronation Cup. I mean, she was like 6-5 on the morning line. I thought I would have bet her at 1-9 because I thought she would have dusted the field. So she goes back in against the boys, her own age. She ran in the Jaipur, finished third. Was like had tons of trouble getting in the gate. Looked like she was going to be a gate scratch for a little bit there, and then still ran strong. I mean, ran behind Cogburn and Arzak, two of the better turf sprinters still running. I just think she kind of towers over this field. Mansa Musa was another one in here that had been running well, but ran an allowance race, Belmont Derby Day, won, but he ran against some horses that ran today in an undercard, and they all ran back well, but I just still think it's just such a cut. This entire field of this class is just a couple of that Jaipur field, and I think she should tower over this.
Yeah, I totally agree. No Name Mets is a name that you see kind of bouncing around, and came into the Breeders' Cup last year. Actually, went off favored in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, and was close, but obviously didn't get it done, and just seems like hasn't really recaptured that form that was so powerful leading into the Breeders' Cup last year. The other one that was slightly intriguing was this Fandom, the 3 for Brad Cox and Stone Street. Another likely contender. And one of the things that I really like looking at in these short turf sprints, these 5.5 furlong turf sprints, is that E2 pace figure on Brisnet. I think that's a really good indicator of your ability, the horse's ability to kind of put themselves in a race like this that is so quick, and having a nice E2 figure suggests that you're somewhat of a tactician and can be involved and be a player and see this race through to the end. And Fandom has one of the highest, if not the highest, late or E2 pace figure in his last race. 104 compared to a 101 from Star of Mystery. So it's just something interesting that stuck out to me, as I do like to look at that figure, especially in these 5.5 furlong sprints. But yeah, Star of Mystery really towers over everybody else in terms of class, which we talked about is critical in these turf races. So we spread a little bit in the race before, since we were getting after that favorite, and we are also, I think we also are ditching the favorite in the first leg too, aren't we? That Truly Quality.
That Truly Quality with Toss.
So we'll see what happens, but a single in the Quick Call race 9 on Sunday with Star of Mystery. Anything else you wanted to add about Star of Mystery?
No, just that I've been looking forward to this horse running again. Her European races are super impressive, especially like going against the boys. Just shows that they haven't intimidated her, and she can get in the gate well and easily. I think she should kind of fly out of there. And the turf course today, the sprints they were running, it was super tough to kind of go wire to wire. So I think she could sit a perfect pocket trip and kind of pop out. And Pratt was riding well today, so I think it's kind of a perfect storm for her.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll show the ticket, and we'll just run through it one last time before we get everybody out of here. All right. Let's reveal the ticket. Here it is. Race 7 on Sunday. We're going with the 1 Cyber Ninja, 3 Battle of Normandy, 10 Crabs and Beer. I will say, my guess is that this horse probably come down off of the morning line. But this 6 minus, the 4 for Pletcher and Irad, definitely a contender as well, I think. That Belmont Gold Cup on Belmont weekend up here. Didn't really seem like many horses in that race ran poorly. And this one's coming out of there, lost by 4.5 lengths or so to the Gray Wizard, Champagne Juan, who, still stings me that he didn't get his nose down on that wire. But just throwing it out there, 6 minus, contender for sure, but we just didn't include him. So if anybody's, looking, didn't like any of these horses, 6 minus was one to also consider in my view. The eighth race, we're spreading a little bit. The 1 Ski Country, 2 South Street, 5 Magianera, 6 Kentucky Joker, and 8 Thank You John. And then singling in the 9th with Star of Mystery, who we both think towers over this field. 3 by 5 by 1 in a pick 3 for $1, costs $15. So, reasonably priced, I think.
Yeah. Play for $3.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think you could easily play it for $2 or $3 and feel good about it. We feel good about it. I like this ticket.
If we have time for one spot play on this card on Sunday as well.
Yeah, fire it up.
Race 5, the number 3, It's a Miracle. Watched this horse on debut at Saratoga on the Derby or the Friday before Belmont Day. Flying late in the 7 furlong race, stretching out now. You get Protective coming out of the Belmont, big favorite. To me, I think this horse needs a little bit more rest. He's been running a lot in these kind of preps and some inflated speed figures. And then same this Military Road, who's the number 1, is going to be the co-favorite. Same thing, just kind of running these even figures. Don't think he's going to improve. So 3 gives you a shot to improve, 4-1 on the morning line. Dylan Davis been riding well. See how it goes.
All right, there you go. I was trying to type it. I was trying to type it, but of course, it's spelled absolutely ridiculously.
Yeah.
there you go. Race 5, number 3, It's a Miracle, spot play from Kev. We'll see if we can string a couple of runners together in the pick 3 races 7, 8, and 9. One last quick look at the ticket. 3 horses in the 7th race, 5 horses in the 8th race, 1 horse in the 9th race, $1 ticket for $15. We'll probably play it for $2 or $3, so $30, $45 total, and try and cash this ticket. All right, Kev, welcome back to the show. Great to have you. And any parting thoughts before we depart?
No, just ready to have a good summer. One weekend at a time.
That's right. That is right. All right. Everybody, have a great evening. We We'll catch you next week. We're going to do this every week. So if there's a sequence you want us to play, let us know. We'll handicap it, and we'll share our thoughts. Thanks, everybody.
See you.